Hey everyone, welcome once again to another episode of Shred Your Halo with my best friend Jharna and me Edel, where we put forth a video every fortnight. If you can hear that weird noise, that's my little dog scratching his cone of shame. He's not very bright. He thinks he's scratching his ear and he continues to scratch his comb. Anyway, so there you have it, right? So we put forth videos about topics that are close to our heart, that follows our timeline and helps us to decode our lives. And I hope as you listen to our videos and join us in our journey, that you too will be blessed by the messages that we try to impart in these. So today we're going to talk about 3 life hacks that made our lives easier, and as a result, we hope would make yours easy as well. So, right on the topic, Jana, let's start with you. What would your first life hack be?
I think, this might seem like a blanket statement, but for me, the biggest life hack has been to know myself better. And if you know yourself well,
Oh, so easy, Jana. Your life hack is just like easy. Like, just stop. That's so easy. Know yourself. Do you know how huge that is? That is not a life hack. That is
that is, which is where I was coming in with my disclaimer. So if there is something about you that is a truth, owning it becomes it becomes a power for you, and that way nobody can attack you with it. That was my life hack.
okay.
So
Now I'm on board. Okay.
So we like to own things about ourselves that seems very glamorous. It seems good in the eyes of other people. And that in general gives our ego the feeling that, yes, I'm a good person. And because of this, I'm going to be liked by other people, which means my survival is ensured. So owning things about us that are pleasant is easy enough to do. But if there is something about you that you see is not a good trait, or it is just something that has been used, in a lot of cases, it's also been used as an attack on you by other people. It could be a character flaw. And the reason I'm putting it in quotes is because all of us have, a good amount of pleasant and a good amount of unpleasant characteristics. But the minute you own something, it takes the power away from that idea of what you think it is going to be. And at the end of the word, it's just going to be a word. It's not going to be anything more than that. So owning aspects of yourself makes it easier for you to navigate the world without running into people who will keep reminding you of the same thing. And even if they did, it would be, if you've made peace with it and if you're not triggered by it, you get to understand that it's more a reflection of what they're experiencing instead of who you actually are. So I would say that is the first life hack. Of course, it takes a lot of time to get to that point,
Yes. Yes.
but it it does make your life a little bit easier.
Yes. I learned this lesson from an Eminem movie called 8 Miles. Do you remember that movie? Have you
I
watched it?
haven't watched it. No.
Okay. There is this scene where he's supposed to get on stage and rap about, like freestyle rapping, right? His opponent is going to get at him. You're supposed to get under each other's skin by putting the other person down lyrically through rap. So Eminem gets on stage and puts himself down and says, "What now? What are you going to hurt me with?" And I just thought, whoa, that was like, because I just thought that was like so badass. Literally the most badass thing. And Russell Peters says this joke where he makes fun of the Americans, why the Americans are afraid of what is their Middle East and which is our West Asian countries, is they would go to an Arabian and say, "I will shoot you," and the Arabian will say, "You want to shoot me? I'll shoot myself." So the Americans are like, "What am I supposed to do now?" So I think, but these are like anecdotal uh, examples of how people own who they really are. And you're absolutely right. When we
And
integrate our shadows, yeah.
And I think a lot of stand-up comedians do as well, right? Because that is what actually sells their comedy because people find them more relatable now. Because they're talking about a lot of human conditions we all experience, but we're too ashamed to talk about it. But when
Yes.
you hear somebody else doing it, you realize, okay, there is someone else who's willing to do this, so what can be so bad about it?
Could I ask you a question? What is the difference between how do you understand owning and understanding yourself and knowing yourself and accepting yourself, um,
Um,
different from
I
it becoming your identity and forever being known as, like, let's say, Eminem, you're trailer trash, you know? Uh,
mm,
when he owns it, the other person can't attack him with it, but that becomes Eminem's identity. He's forever going to be trailer trash. So, what?
I think my understanding of owning the truth is not about putting myself down. It is about taking the power away from the word, which can be construed as a negative way of looking at something or as an insult. Because anything can be used as an insult,
Yes.
and people do it so they can get under your skin. But
Right.
when you own it in a way that is not hurtful to you, you look at it very objectively as a word, as a fact, as who you are or what you've done, in a way that you're integrating it into yourself rather than wallpapering yourself with that adjective and say, yes, this is the label that I'm going to carry. And because I'm saying it now, how are you going to attack me with this? So I think when you integrate it, that is what I mean by owning. So I think in such a situation, you even come across very less people who will want to attack you with what you've already integrated.
I think your enemies, they're no longer enemies anymore. Yeah.
Once you've learned the lesson, you don't need people to keep showing up to teach you the same thing. So that is what I mean when I say owning something.
Yes. Okay. Now, my first life hack is going to be very in keeping in sync with what you just said. It is finding different words to define events and realities that happen to you. For instance, I would always say that my father loved me, and I would attract people who loved me. Very similar, because I'm looking for love in this world. We are all looking for love. So I would go ahead and attract people who loved me the same way my dad did, which was putting me down, being sarcastic, emotionally abusive, um, ignoring me, being punishing. It was just the most painful relationship I had with my father. He was a very abusive person to me. Um, and I kept saying he loved me, he just loved me differently. But unfortunately, or fortunately, our subconscious doesn't know to differentiate what we mean by love. So that's when I decided I'm just going to call a spade a spade. Nothing my dad did for me felt good. So how can I call it love? Because I want love to feel good for me. So therefore, and Jharna will bear testimony to it, I've always said my dad hated me. And I still continue to believe that that's true. And as a result of calling that what it actually felt like for me, I disassociated that because I'm in the pursuit of love. I'm in the pursuit of happiness. And my dad used to and my family unit was, like when we called things happy, I never felt happy in that scenario. When we said family, that just made me feel so uncomfortable and so attacked. And so I took the terms away from what they were in my reality, and I'm creating for it what it feels right for me. And that's where the power of creation comes in. The Bible says Jesus is a word made flesh. So there is incredible power in what we say. And if we associate the wrong words with things that made us feel a particular kind of way, and we're hoping to use the same word in creating something positive, That's not going to happen. So I am looking for love, and my body automatically knows it's got nothing to do with what I used to assume was love or falsely told it was love. I no longer gaslight myself. So if you have any relationship that feels shitty to you, call it call a spade a spade, call it shitty. If people treated you in a particular way that was anathema, that was offensive to you in every level of who you are as a person, don't call that love, don't call that understanding, call that abuse. Don't call that love. Don't call that good intention. Don't call that seeing your potential and pushing you for anything. Bullshit. Don't call that anything. Call it exactly for what it is, right? And recreate, own the power of those words. The flip side of it would be this woke madness that's taken over the world right now, where, dear God, we're not supposed to say anything, and people are coming up with like incredible number of pronouns and about themselves, and that is just a runway train after a point, because I'd like to know what is the purpose of your asking me to call you by your ununderstandable pronouns. I will do it because I respect you and I'm a respectable person. If you want me to do it, that's what I will do. I will call you by those names, but and use those pronouns. But I'm just trying to see, what did you achieve at the end of the day by doing that? On the other hand, when I said my father hated me because if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and swims like a duck, it's a duck, right? And I don't no longer confuse the word love with how he treated me. It sets me free. So let's not become runaway trains. Let's take certain areas of our lives and correct the literature that surrounds it and create a new life for ourselves. So that would be my life hack for number one. Now on to you, Jana.
Okay. My second life hack, again, easier said than done, is surround yourself with people who will challenge you in a constructive way. Because that's the only way you're going to grow. And if and again, you'll need to understand what is constructive and not constructive, similar to what you said, right? Calling a spade. And say you're looking at somebody and you think, oh, this person could be a potential friend, but they treat you poorly. Don't think that is a challenge, and don't try to overcome that challenge, because that's a completely different rabbit hole you can get into, and it might take you a long time to get out of it. So you'll need to do a little bit of work to understand what feels right and what feels wrong. But when you start surrounding yourself with people who are challenging your beliefs, who are challenging your thoughts in a way that makes you question a lot of things about yourself, it is going to be a good way to grow as a person. And if you're not able to surround yourself with physical people in your life, you always have resources online where you can listen to different speakers and see what they have to say. If they're saying something that triggers you, then you know, okay, maybe you need to do some work on it. So always get perspectives that are not your own, because it's very easy to get in your own head and spiral out of control. So it helps when you have other people around you, people, voices, perspectives around you, who may be able to give you a better picture of where you are than you can do for yourself. And more often than not, that's the case, because we think we know everything. And then we hear a differing point of view, and then we realize, oh, I never thought about it that way. And then something opens up. So always find people who will challenge you and let you grow as a person. Somebody who doesn't stop you from being the best that you want to be. That
But
would
in
be
order
my
to get
second hack.
somebody like that in your life, who do you have to be, Jana?
You have to be somebody who's constantly willing to work on yourself, and
But
that's
isn't
not
that like
easy.
a parent-child, parent-student, a parent-child, or a teacher-student relationship? Shouldn't it be like,
Mm,
so would you be challenging to that other person as well? Would you be that
you,
challenging friend?
you would, I think, if you're in a place where you haven't ever done that for someone else, it's going to take you a while to figure out for yourself whether or not you're capable of doing something like that for another person. Because I think when I started doing this whole let me discover myself journey, I don't think I challenged anybody and I hated being challenged. But then I think physically, like, person that I know that challenges me the most is you. And there are times when I'm so triggered by it, but then I go back and I'm like, okay, I have to find some way to work through this. And I'm not sure if I do the same for you because we haven't really spoken so much about
No,
it.
but the truth
Um,
of the matter is, I think if somebody gives you, I don't think, I think you, the reason I asked that question is because you are always there for me. So as a result, I feel safe enough to tell you my thoughts about the
right.
patterns I see in your life. Do you understand? So you offer me stability and I offer you challenges. So there is an exchange there. So when we are giving this advice to other people as a life hack,
Hmm.
unless you're looking for a mentor, in which case you're not looking for friends, probably. A mentor is a good person to have in your life, yes. And
Right.
you're very blessed and lucky if you do have a mentor in your life. But if you're looking for a friend who will challenge you, make sure you offer them something as well. Don't be
Hmm.
beholden to a peer, is what I would recommend.
Then then that would become a codependent relationship, no?
Yes, yes,
Because
yes,
one person is doing all the giving and the other person is not doing anything at all. So there's only
yes,
one way of your energy moving. So it has to be an equal relationship, not necessarily the same playing field. It could be different areas. One person is giving you something that they're good at, and
yes,
another person is giving you something that they're good at in turn. So
yes,
it's not just, take, and then drain the other person out. If that happens, you're not even going to have a relationship at the end of it.
yes,
Yeah. So I think that is what I meant. Maybe I didn't
yes,
articulate it.
yes, yes. Okay, the next life hack is okay, stay with me. It's just two words: fuck blood. Fuck relationships that you were born with. You don't owe anybody, not your parents, not your siblings, anything. You don't. Um, and the person who said this in one of the videos that I listened to is this YouTube relationship guru called Shalon Lester. And years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, my best friend in Germany, she said something quite similar to this. She said, my parents are assholes. Not my parents, her parents. She said, my parents are assholes. And I just went, what? And it was the beginning of me dissociating myself from the umbilical cord that not just bound me to my parents, but also gagged me to my parents. And I was slowly able to distance myself and see them as flawed human beings. There's nothing wrong with being flawed. I am flawed. I know, shocking, unbelievable, but take it at my word. I am flawed. So I know, just stop, stop, stop. I am flawed. Anyway, so to see two flawed people trying to make the best out of an unsolvable situation consistently. And I am the product of that chaos. So it got me far enough away to see my parents as individuals. Um, and it helped. And then a few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, was when Shalom Lester first said, fuck blood. And I just went, and she's right. I have been brought into this world to create a family for myself. And I always go back to the Bible. I see Jesus leaving his family, you know, and setting off and creating a family for his own, a brotherhood for his own, creating, a community of 12 disciples who followed him right up until the very end. Sure, his family was there, but as if you want to step ahead and move forward in life, in some weird degree, you have to say, middle finger my family, middle finger my blood. I am no longer going to be part of your agenda. Your best interest and my best interest If it together forms our best interest, that is fine. But if your best interest is nothing but a roadblock unto me that I'm going to have to respectfully extricate myself from you. And that would be the biggest gift that we give ourselves, to have the freedom to say, I'm not going to live up to your expectations. I'm going to forge a path for myself, and I'm going to create family for myself. I'm going to create a family that I can define as correct for me, that's correct for my spirit. I don't know why we call this video life hacks, because I think it's just going to complicate people's lives even more. But there we go. In for a penny, in for a
We're
pound.
just, I think we're just trying to make it a little palatable.
Are we trying to make it palatable, Jharna? Really?
Maybe you call the video life hacks, and then once they dive deep in, they don't realize what they've signed up for.
Right. Okay. The third life hack, Jharna.
Okay, this is my absolute favorite life hack because I enjoy it and I'm good at it. I love planning. I love planning like nobody's business. Whether it's planning a holiday, whether it's planning Excel sheets, whether it's planning in literally any aspect of my life, I like planning. It's a different thing whether it gets to execution or not, but planning is something that I enjoy doing. And this is something that we should at least try to add a little bit of into our lives. So sometimes when you have a plan and say the plan falls through and things don't happen, at least you know you had some sort of blueprint to look at so you could make your life a little easier. And I think it's only been at I've done a lot of planning over the course of my life, but it was something that I picked up at a young age. And before that, I would do things in a very haphazard manner. And I think eventually I just picked it up because I enjoyed doing it. So whatever plans you make, don't hold yourself hostage to it or don't hold other people hostage to your plans, but have a plan in place so you know you always have something to fall back on. If there is a little bit of deviation sometimes, or because of certain situations that you just didn't see happening, your plans fall through, that's still okay. But you don't have to go into anything with the sense of anxiety and feeling that you have no idea as to where you're headed. It always helps to have a plan. So that would be my third life hack.
Okay. Just to elaborate on what you said, like a
Yeah.
plan could be a budget for the week and spend within that means. A plan could mean today I wake up, I go to bed, I've got my clothes that I need, so I don't have to waste precious time wondering what I'm going to wear. And then you have an idea, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and have the plan in place in your head so when you wake up, you don't have to use up, you don't have to feel overwhelmed by the day. And then have a weekly goal plan to say where you're going, your physical goals, how much exercise you're going to do per day or per week, what books you're going to read or what you're going to study. Putting a timetable will help. And like you said, tabulating it and seeing, you being able to see the graph and the pattern of what we're good at, where we need help. And the good thing about planning is that where we can actually see where we are lacking, and you can't hide from it anymore. It grounds us because it makes us face reality in real time. And then it's up to us how we're going to correct it. We can read books on how to improve our financial situation. We can read books on how there will be certain times of the month, certain times of the week, where certain times of the day where we will discover that our productivity is low or our receptivity is low or our energy level is high, and how to make sure we can use that natural cycle of our body to bring out the best in the world. So, and both of us have been on that journey to doing it. So we are really, really, yes, this really works. This is a lifelong process, I think, but it's a good habit to have. Even in, just start out in like one small way. Like I'm going to wake up at this one particular time every day. That's a plan. And then once you master that plan, start out with as soon as I wake up, I'm going to drink half a liter of water every day. That's another plan. The third plan is I'm always going to be early for work and late for everything else. That's your problem. and then set your budget, and I'm not going to exceed this budget in a week. So just one little challenge per month, and at the end of the year, you've got 12 new habits that are just part of your DNA now. So planning is absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. Well done, Jana. Okay, and my third life hack is actually, I don't know, it's easy and it's hard. Let fragile things break. Let fragile things break. Yeah.
How is this how is this easy?
I know, right?
We're
Yeah.
hardwired. Well, at least I've been hardwired to log a dead or something.
Yes. I learned this lesson from the wise mouth of Shannon Lester again. She was just talking about this, something about some video, and she said, let fragile things break. And she was talking in terms of a friend telling her that when she was trying so desperately to keep a relationship or a boyfriend in her life. And this friend of hers went, if it's meant to break, let it break. Nothing should stick in our life because of this Herculean effort we invest into it. Our efforts, we should be putting it into our passions, our ambitions, our desires, our goodwill, our good health. Our energy should be flowing inwards. We should be reinvesting our energy because our energy is finite. If we are going to spread that energy out somewhere else, it should be giving us something in return. It shouldn't be money wasted. Like I would invest in Jharna because Jharna gives me something back in some other way. The only like even my dogs, I'm so happy to invest a lot of my energy and time into them, taking care of them when they are sick, like everything. My garden takes a lot of my energy and my time, but what I get back in return is so manifold. Make sure, be very certain about what you're getting back in return and whether it's worth the energy you're putting in. A thing that is fragile is something that takes a lot of energy from you to stay intact. And if it is a relationship, if it is a job, if it is a health situation, just let it break. Just let it break. And sometimes breaking and in the going away of it is where our new beginning starts. Last year, I watched a very close relationship break. And I just watched it because quite literally, what could I do? It's a pandemic and it's a lockdown. And Jharna watched it along with me, and she was part of that fragile thing breaking as well. So we just sat there and watched it. And the world was going crazy. There was so much time and there was so much fear and there's so little to do. This was before I started working in the front line. And I just sat there and watched this fragile relationship break. And I didn't know it was fragile. And after that relationship broke was when I understood I had so much energy to invest in myself. And I'm just reaping dividends from using that energy in myself. And I didn't know I was leaking energy in that direction of that relationship. So if something breaks, take stock, do the whole pros and cons list, like Ross did about Rachel before he started dating her. On an Excel sheet or Microsoft Word or something, right? On their MacBook Pro or something. It was this really ancient.
It was like a suitcase type of a laptop.
It was like the Stone Age computer that they were making this thing. Anyway, so make the pros and cons. And very calmly, in a place of great respect for yourself, ask yourself whether it requires of you to go after that. And I can honestly say that I'm very happy I let that fragile relationship break and go away. I had so much space in my life to have so many blessings come in as a result of. when something goes away from your life, it's only to make way for something else to come in. We cannot have that and this. You know what I mean? So lots of things have to go, and some things will be taken away from us because we are not ready to let it go. So fragile things will break in our life. It could be people, it could be a job, it could be a habit, it could be a routine, it could be reality as we know it, as in the pandemic. How tightly we cling to our life uh, is an indication of how fragile it actually is. A truly strong person has let go because they know they. I love it that this consultant that I work with, he's so unbothered by how little I know. And I'm a really good doctor. I don't want you to think I'm this dumbass. I'm a really good doctor, but he is a great doctor with 30 years of experience ahead of me. And he's so smart and so clever. And I could do the dumbest of mistakes, and he just doesn't even bother. It doesn't even occur to him to lose his temper or, nothing. And the reason for that is, no matter how badly I mess up, he's so in control, he can get things back in order again. And that's why he's able to let me be his assistant. If he truly got into my head and could tabulate how much I know and compare it to how much his wealth of knowledge is, he'd run screaming right from my head. But an uneducated person can be with him. The most qualified doctor can still be his assistant, and he'd still be the same. I aspire for that level of badassery in every avenue of my life. And for that, let fragile things break. So that would be my third life hack. Would you like to add anything else, any small life hacks along the way? Because everything we've said now is so tiny. So anything smaller than this?
Just smaller. Not that I can think of, because I think if we look back at this video, none of it has been simple. Like, we're saying it simply, that doesn't make it simple, right?
It's simple, but it's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very, very simple, but it's not easy at all. And it's not for the faint of heart. So thank you so much for sticking with us till the end of this video. What is that?
I don't think any of our videos are for faint of the heart.
Oh, no, of course not. We are very superior people, right? Thank you so much. Oh my God, I just became like Dora the Explorer. Right. Okay. Right. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Shred Your Halo, and so bravely sticking with us to the end of it. So I hope you join us next fortnight. Before then, remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, remember to click the bell icon so you'll be notified every time we put a video out, which is every fortnight without fail, and leave a comment below and share this video with anybody you think might be blessed by it. So till we see you the next time, stay safe for now. Bye.